Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining in for today's Knowledge Hub session. Um, Students as well as mentors understand some of the basic foundational principles of economy that can help you then understand the larger framework of Atmanirbhar Bharat and how you can apply a lot of these concepts that we cover in today's session to build your ATL marathon application. It addresses particularly the last problem statement that we have, and with a few case studies and great examples. Professor Bharti will today be walking us through Atmanirbhar Bharat fundamental economic principles as well as the basics of supply and demand. So with that, sir, over to you.
Thank you, Arya. Thank you very much. And a very brief description about myself. So, presently a business mentor for IIT Abhyuday. It's a startup cell, and obviously associated as a mentor of change for Atal Innovation Mission, which is a great platform in itself. So, let us quickly begin our journey now. It's going to be an interesting session, and we would also love to handle questions that come across. So it starts with the basic, uh, the platform that we're talking about. So this is a small workshop, and we hope to do a couple of more workshops with you. So we start with the beginners level or beginning level, and then we sort of build on concepts onto it, layers onto it, and we have certain ideas in mind as part of the innovation labs that we want to do that we have been discussing with Varya and team. So let us begin our today's journey. And wow, as you see on the screen, what do you see? You see a lot of masks, right? These are face masks that we are talking about. And an example that everyone can probably relate to, because during COVID-19, what you have seen is there has been a surge in demand for face masks, right? So the prices for the masks that we're selling for 5 rupees, 10 rupees, or 25 rupees shot as high as 200 rupees. And some of them, the fascinating masks, the advanced ones, were also quoting higher. So we talk about the mask demand, surge in demand, and also the supply situation, and we understand as to why the price is increased. So this is what we're going to do today. So let's begin our journey. This is a pre-COVID situation. So this is a map that I have pulled out, and as you would see, largely the mask market size was concentrated around these levels, especially the East Asia, as you can see, because there have been a lot of and other diseases pre-COVID. I'm talking about, right? So where they were using various flus, wherein they were using these masks. India, though we have not seen these kind of flu, swine flu, obviously we have seen, but also not just because of COVID situation, but also for hospitalization needs or hospital needs or healthcare needs. The color, as you see, is this is the lowest. This is the area where you were needing the lowest quantity of face mask. So this was a low potential market size or a market region as far as face masks were uh, concerned. And these areas, the European ones, which are considered high on hygiene, and were a medium market size for face masks. So this area, as you can see, including so Asia and Asia Pacific, as you can see, are the areas where mostly the mask market was concentrated. But a particular situation, which was COVID-19. So we'll also look at what happened post COVID-19 and how the market size shaped, and this will help us understand as to what happened with the why the mask prices surged, why the demand shot up. So this is pre-COVID, and let's move on to our next slide. This is the number of cases that were reported worldwide, and these were COVID-19 cases. The more red it is, the more number of cases were reported. So I think this region is something where you're seeing a lot of COVID cases, certain parts of Africa also, which was earlier a low mask sort of market, so there was not much demand. India also sort of a good amount, and the more concentrated ones were in Europe, obviously at this part of the Europe. So if I just go back to the previous slide, you'll see how this whole belt, if you see, was in the yellow region, right? And now if you see the number of cases that were reported, because if there are more cases, obviously there would be more masks needed. This whole belt, which was earlier in yellow region, demand-wise, was asking for more masks, and the simple reason was there was more COVID cases being reported from here. So one external factor, how it can impact the demand, and then we'll see what happens to the prices also, and why this demand and supply, how it leads to equilibrium. So we will be discussing about it. But what you're seeing here is the changing nature of the market in terms of the size. So let us go to the next slide and see what exactly happened here. This, what we have mapped is how many adults were using masks across world. So these were the cases. The previous slide that you saw were the number of cases that were reported, and because of which the adults, and this is roughly about 19 million adults, who were asking more and more masks here in this region also. In this region also, obviously there were a lot of masks being asked here, and pockets of Africa, which was never a market here. Now this kind of demand was never seen in the market earlier. So if you are, for example, if the overall, and this is a hypothetical number that I am seeing, is that annually worldwide, if we were asking 100 masks, now we were asking probably 1,000 or more masks. So probably 10 times or more. These are hypothetical numbers, but this is how you see the demand surging up. And if the demand goes up, we'll see what happens. So there is a very nice slide. So we will talk about it. So let's go to see. So now what we have mapped here is how the demand pattern changed because of an external factor like COVID. So you saw how COVID cases were reported earlier on the world map, and because of which how the demand pattern changed. All right. So now let us come back to our basic equation or basic equilibrium of economics that you would have either studied or you are about to pick up, and let us talk about it. So as you see, the demand and supply is always in a balance. It's a delicate balance that is maintained. So, and that sets the price. What happens, we'll take some certain examples. What happens if the demand will shoot up? What will happen? What will be the impact on the prices if the demand shoots up all of a sudden? The second question that we can probably handle in this case study and other places and other case studies also is, what happens if the supply goes up? What would be the impact on the prices? What will happen if the supply goes down? What will be the impact on the price? Likewise, we spoke about demand going up. What would be the impact on the prices if the demand goes down? So now here you realize that the price that we are talking about is a function of demand or supply. So these impact. Generally, these are in equilibrium. So if there are 100 masks being produced in a country, say in India, for example, just a hypothetical number, if the demand is equal to 100, the supply is also equal to 100, and that sets the price, whether the mask will be sold at 5 rupees, 7 rupees, 8 rupees or 10 rupees. That decides the quantum of the demand, decides what will be the price of the mask. So let us go to the next slide and see how we can elaborate more on that. But one takeaway from the slide is that demand and supply in terms of quantity, right? How will you measure demand? Demand is measured in terms of quantity, meaning what? 100 units or 100 pieces of mask. Is this just mask? No, it applies to anything and everything that is sellable in the market. So, in any marketplace you go, and anything that you're seeing, whether it is commodity, fruits, vegetables, rice, gold, oil, any commodity that you see on this planet, even in the stock markets, when the prices are defined as an equilibrium of demand and supply, and that is why this very important balance that you're seeing here, right? So let's go to the next slide and see what do we mean by equilibrium. So I have been talking about this word called equilibrium, or a simpler, more easy language that I have used is a function of. What do we mean is a function of? Function of, that means demand and supply, quantity, in terms of quantity, interact and help us in finding the price. So this is a price discovery, as we call it, right? We will take a simpler example, right? And then we will come back to our example of mask, right? You see that the price of the fruits and vegetables change very frequently in the market. So if you go with your parents and your uh, peers and colleagues, if you go and buy a banana today, you will see that probably it is quoting about 40 rupees a dozen, right? Next day when you go, this is 50 rupees a dozen. Why does this happen is what we need to understand. The demand and supply are in continuous interaction. If there is more demand, you will see that the prices, if say the demand moves here, right, from this point the demand goes up, say demand moves up, so you will figure out, you will, if you join this point, this is scale, you will figure out that from 40 rupees the prices have moved to 50 rupees. So if there is an escalation in the demand, now why could possibly the demand escalate? Maybe because it is a season for bananas, people are eating more bananas. Maybe this is a festival season where people need more banana. Maybe someone has set up a huge factory. Someone is buying all the banana in the market. He set up a huge factory. He's manufacturing a lot of pulp, and there is a sudden demand in the market. So that will push up the prices. That is easy to understand in terms of just common parlance, that okay, if there is more demand, but if I have to depict it, so if we are talking about economics, economics is all about depicting it in terms of charts, and this is what you're seeing here. So I can simply plot, okay, on this scale, on the red line that you see, if I move upwards, if my demand goes up, tomorrow the prices will be 50. If the prices move up further, my prices will be probably be 60 rupees. At the moment, because we'll be answering this question in one of the slides. The question is, why cannot the supply adjust so quickly? If the demand is increasing so fast, we should be able to produce or procure more bananas. So the question is, why is supply fixed? Why doesn't it change? It should be able to change it. If people are asking more bananas, we should be able to supply more bananas. Now let's come back to our original case study where we are talking about masks, right? So because of COVID-19 situation, it is mandatory by law that we should wear mask. And now because there is a second wave or a third wave, probably India skipped the second wave, but globally this is the third wave of pandemic or COVID situation that we are seeing. Now again, government has mandated in most of the states that you have to compulsory wear masks. So if you are traveling outside and if a cop catches you, he will put a fine on you. Now that itself is pushing the demand up because everyone in India has to buy. This was not the situation until 23rd of March when the lockdown was announced. Before that, this was not the situation. We were rarely wearing masks, right? But now everyone, almost all of us have to wear. So the demand has been continuously rising. And if the mask goes bad, you go and buy another mask. If that mask, if you have lost it, if it goes bad, you go and buy another mask. So there is a very quick replacement demand. The life of the mask is also not very high. So it lasts maybe from 1 month to 3 months, maximum or 6 months. So that is keeping the demand up, and that has pushed up the prices. So we understand from our experience that the very simple masks which were selling for 5 rupees, their prices shot up to 25 rupees. But one question that we've not answered is, why did not the supply adjust itself? So we will take this question in the next slide, and we'll see what all factors impacts supply. But before that, we will also understand how a factory works, what are the things that goes inside a factory, and how the supply is done. So let's go back to move forward to the next slide and see what's in store for us. Okay, so this is just that what we measured. All right. So here is a nice.
Yeah, and just here quickly, I wanted to add that for a lot of mentors and students who are working on different prototypes, some of these principles of demand and supply, as well as understanding supply chain that we'll be discussing now, are very important for you to look at, because any solution that you prepare, you have certain users as well as end customers. So that's what really defines your demand and supply as well. So the same principle of matching equilibrium, of looking at who you're making what for and how much of it should be made, scale, can be learned through this very basic understanding of demand and supply. So even if you're not necessarily looking at pricing your product, the same logic can be applied at looking at scale as well.
Yes, thank you, Arya. So thank you for picking up the thread from there and sort of looping everyone in that it is something that impacts you. Whether it is directly a part of your project or not, it is something that impacts you on a daily basis in terms of planning, in terms of your buying behavior, and in terms of for some of those who understand investments also. So we'll try to understand a couple of more layers on demand versus supply. But let us first understand this very interesting picture that is right in front of you. So what we have seen in the COVID situation is, and so here the demand is not going down, the demand is getting heavier because it's in equilibrium, so there is more demand. And if you put a lot of weight on the demand side of it, it will obviously it will try to sort of go down. What will be the impact? The supply remains constant, so the prices will move up. So that can only be adjusted if the prices have moved up, because the supply has remained constant. So if there are total 100 masks, this could be 100 crore, this could be 100,000, this could be 100 any number, but just to assume that if there are total 100 masks being produced in India, just for example, just to keep it simple, and if there are 1,000 people asking, the only way to cater to these 100 people, you cannot tear off the mask. So you cannot do a pro rata, you cannot distribute 100 masks and make it 1,000, because this is something which will destroy the commodity itself. You cannot cut into pieces and sell. So the only way to do it by increasing the prices, and the prices will adjust. So maybe from 5 rupees, you never know, if there is too much shortage, the mask will start selling at 500 rupees, because you cannot improve upon the supply in this short term. Likewise, if there is more supply, so supply gets heavier, there are more people. So second phase, what happens is, so let us look at what happens in the first. This is the first leg of the transaction where there are more demand, the supply cannot adjust. In the longer run, so if in about say 6 months to 12 months time frame, more or more manufacturers came, and maybe some of you as mentors of change jumped onto this opportunity. Maybe some of our enlightened students also took on this opportunity, and they set up maybe hundreds of mask factories, because of which what happened, there was more mask supply increased, the supply side got heavier, so there were more masks in the market, and this will ease the price. This will bring down the price. So I hope this is clear. Anyone has a question on this one can ask. But what are the key takeaways so far? One, that the price, the demand and supply is in equilibrium. That means the price is decided not just by demand but also by supply. How many people are asking for mask and how many people are actually supplying the mask? If there is lesser supply, prices will move up. If there are 100 people who are demanding the mask and there are 200 people supplying the mask, obviously all these sellers in the market, they would want to sell, so they will give you a discount. That is why when you go to a mall, when you have some festive season, all of them are giving discounts because there is an oversupply. They want to sell, they want to make maximum money in the market at that point in time, and whatever they have produced for the festive season or for that particular event, they want to sell it out. So there are clearances also, year-long clearances also. That is only possible by reducing the prices. This is not something unusual. You have already seen this in festive season, in December, in Christmas, in Diwali. You get a lot of discounts, especially also on online platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, and other places. Why is that? Because there is a lot of supply. Everyone is selling as per the festive season. Likewise, if the supply goes up for the mask, the prices should stabilize. And now you have seen that a lot of people have started supplying masks. So from say $25, the mask prices have adjusted to their 5 or 10 rupees, which was the usual prices. Okay, so with this thought in mind, let us move on to the next slide and let's see what's in store for us. But I hope that so far it is clear. If you have any questions, I would request Varia to direct it to me because she can see the screen and I think she can coordinate between us for the questions. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, guys, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat section.
And the most important statement that I want to make today is that this knowledge, this very basic knowledge and this essential knowledge, which is a pillar, sort of a pillar, for foundation of your knowledge, whether you call it common knowledge, whether you call it economics, whether you call demand and supply knowledge, whether you call it equilibrium, price function, etc. This impacts you on a daily basis, and this you would need for all your planning. If you are setting up your company, if you are working for a company, if you want to grow, become a senior member in your company, you have to do this demand planning and supply chain analysis. So born out of this is something known as demand planning. You have to plan what your customers are going to ask, and you have to see how will you supply them, how will you source and supply on time to your customers. So this will always impact you. All right. Now the question is, why did the mask prices surge? There must be a reason for it. So the photograph defects, and this is a very famous photograph that you already know, which is Bapu's three monkeys. What I have tried to depict from this slide is that everyone and anyone was asking for a mask. So there was a demand surge, and that is why the prices moved up. I hope you like this slide. Just a depiction of a very basic cause as to why generally the prices move up. Because anyone and everyone, so there are more number of people asking for the mask. Is that the only reason, that because there is more demand? Sometimes you have a supply chain disruption. Okay, so we will talk about it in a short while. So sometimes when you have a supply chain disruption, that means if the masks are not coming on time, if in your area there is a factory which has been burned down, the masks are not coming, the demand is constant, but the supply has been reduced because of the impact on the supply, because the factory is burned, or maybe there is a lockdown, or maybe because there is a curfew in that area, and the pharmacies or the chemist shops in your area are not receiving the mask, then obviously the supply will also, the prices will also move up. Okay. Now I asked you a quiz as to why, if the demand shoots up, why is also not supply adjusting to it? So why are not, supplying more bananas or rice or flowers or masks, whichever commodity the price has moved up, why we are not supplying more? So let me take you through a process of how a commodity is produced, how a thing is manufactured, and how it is supplied. So let's take a quick peek into what a factory looks like. Okay, so this is an overview of a factory where the this is the production line where let us assume these are masks. So masks are being produced. This is where they are sourcing the raw material. So from the trucks, the textile is coming, the threads are coming, they're manufacturing it here, packing it in the boxes, stacking it up, and whenever there is a demand, it is being dispatched, right? And the next part of the same process is, so from the factory, there is a pickup van comes, it is put onto the trucks, then goes to various warehouses where it is stored. So if the factory, for example, is in Pune, and there is a demand from Delhi, so this will be shipped to Delhi, stored in a warehouse, and from there it could be dispatched outside India or to your local pharmacies. If there is a demand not from say outside, say for example this demand is from Denmark, right? Then using a sea mode or an air mode, it will be shipped outside. So delivery that will happen. Now there are so many people involved in the process. There is such an intermixing of processes, right from sourcing the cloth of which mask is made to packing it, having these many people on the floor. So you're seeing there are about 4 or 5 people at least in this picture who are there. Then you need cartons to pack these boxes. You need manpower to, pick it up, ship. You also need people at customs clearance. If you are exporting outside, then you ship it by air or by ship. So you need people, you need pilots, you need captains. And then when it lands in Denmark, then you have people there. In a short term, you cannot have more people. You cannot have more cartons coming to your factory in a very short term. I'm talking about. You cannot have more cottons or textile being sourced. It needs time. Everything, when you place an order, it needs time. You also have to hire more people. So people are not immediately available. And also during lockdown, lot of workers and migrant workers had shifted to their hometowns. So there was dearth of people also. People were not available to work. That created a lot of supply chain issues. Another important factor that I want to bring in front of you is that you see that there are machines needed, right? This is a machine where you cut the mask pieces. Most of these machines come from outside and they come from China. Now, because of the lockdown, the ships were also not available to ship these machines to India. So if you had placed an order in India, absolutely there was a complete lockdown. Even if you were trying to source it from other country, China, Japan, Korea, or whichever country you're trying to get these machines to produce more, it was not available. Or because there was a lockdown, the transportation cost had shot up so much that it was not feasible. The machines had got so expensive that it was not possible to import it in India. So it took some time, about 3 months to 6 months, to get these extra machines to produce more masks in India itself. So that was a major cause of the supply chain disruption. What do I mean by disruption? This supply got impacted. Supply of what? So the supply got impacted of the raw materials, of the textile, of the machines. Also, people were not available, right? That is why, all in all, the supply cannot be impacted. And in most of the situation, you will see that supply just cannot be increased by just by a thought or a process, just by whims and fancies. It takes time to improve supply chain because there are so many processes and people involved in this process. And that answers your quiz, that supply remains fixed in the short to medium term. The more complicated, the more bigger the product is, it will take more time to adjust or improve or increase the supply. Until that time, the demand and supply equilibrium will be distorted, and that is adjusted only by a price increase. So this is on the case study one. Any questions so far, Varya? Are there any questions that we would like to handle? Else I move on to the next part of which is building onto this case. We set up a factory and see what happens.
So someone is asking for an example for the marathon pillar statement. Implement a solution to mitigate the price fluctuation and manage demand and supply in the market. Basically, an example of where this can actually be used. Maybe we can take this up towards the end because you do cover some examples in your talk already. If it's still not answered, we can take this up. This is the only question we have so far.
Understood. Okay, so we'll see this question. What I understand is basically what can be done to sort of mitigate this risk, also to how this can be built into the planning of the supply chain so that supply can be improved. This is how I read it. If it is different, probably we'll also ask the member to contribute to it and see how we can answer. So this was the case. Yes. So thank you. So this was the case study, and now let's take another case study and see. Around us, and it seems that we will be asked to wear mask, or we will get habituated of wearing mask in the near future also. So let us see how this can be capitalized. So this is a case study, and quite interestingly, I have called it Face Mask Private Limited. So this is all about setting up a company. So let's see what's in store for us. All right. So we are talking about fundraising part of it. So let's see. A couple of you friends come together and they see that, okay, there is a lot of demand. So why not we set up a company and you guys start producing your own masks that you can sell, because there is extreme jump in the demand and there is a replacement demand also. So people will need masks again and again and again and again. So some of you, with the help of your mentors, set up a company called Face Mask Private Limited, and as we can see, there are about 5 people. This is an assumption, this is a case study, and this is a hypothetical example. Okay, so obviously you would, all of you contribute. For example, let's take an example, 10 lakh rupees to set up a company. Yeah. So how many people we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 50 lakhs to set up a company. This is used as a capital, right? This is used as a capital. So you get the machineries, you rent a place, and you start manufacturing the masks. So let's see what happens next. Okay, the mask is of such a good quality. It is packed hygienically. It comes in a hygiene condition. You are using technology. So people start placing orders from all over the world using the tech platform, which is Amazon and Flipkart and other online platforms. And as you can see, there are a lot of people who are demanding this special quality of mask that you guys have been successful in producing, right? So then there's a lot of demand. So what will you do next? And why there is a demand for it? Because how is demand created is a question that we are trying to answer. So the quiz is, what can possibly improve your demand is what we are trying to answer. So demand, as we know, it comes because either you are using technology, it is more safe, it is reliable, it is easy to use, or because it is cheaper to use. So you can have probably tech as a factor, you can have quality as a factor, you can have a price as a factor which can improve your demand. So here we understand that you are using technology to answer 2 problems. One, whether it is safe. Yes, so maybe it is UV treated, ultraviolet treated, and you are using technology. So that is creating a demand for it. People are buying for it. You are selling handsomely. Now, The question is, I have purposely brought this. So that was the first part of the fundraising, because this you contributed from your own kitty. All of you brought money from your own pocket and invested in the company. Now the company has grown so much that it needs more funds for the machineries that it wants to import, high quality machines, and for the capital to get a lot of buy these raw materials. You need a lot of money. So I purposely put this. I'm sure a lot of you have watched this scam 1992, and this is a purposely I bring because this is a photo of a BSE, which was earlier known as Bombay Stock Exchange, and I help smaller companies, small companies which are from 20 crores to 500 crores being listed on the stock exchange. So we are talking about the fundraising part of it. So how do we get the funds? Now we have put our own funds. Banks have also put funds, but we are falling short of the funds. So this is the third part of the case study. So let's see how can you raise more funds, because your company needs to grow now. All right. So there are two ways to raise funds. And when you are setting up an idea, when you are doing a marathon, when you are doing anything which is related to innovation, if you want to commercialize it, if you want to create a company out of it, you will always have to do two sorts of planning. So the demand that we're talking about, there are two kinds of demand. One is the demand for the product, and the second demand is demand for the money itself. How will you create the product? So you need money to sort of produce this product. So money comes from two markets. One is either you borrow from the banks or you go to the stock exchange. So this is a picture of a stock exchange that you see here, and you can go here, list your company and get your funds. So you will list your company on the stock exchange, and like Infosys and TCS, you can raise funds from the stock market, because without money you will not be able to run your company. At some point in time, if you have set up your company, you will run out of your personal money. So what is the way out? There are two ways. One, go to the bank, but banks also have a limitation. They will give you money only to the extent what they see, how much you're producing, basis that, how much assets you have, how much land you have, how much capital you have, basis that. The second one is you can go to a share market and get your company listed and raise funds from you. This may be a little advanced for you, for some of you. Some of you may already be knowing, but I just want to introduce the concept that apart from the banks, stock market or the stock exchange, of which a movie which has come, Scam 1992, which you have seen. However, that does not put the stock exchange in the right limelight, but there are good companies like Tata and Infosys, etc. listed. So it's a nice place where you can go and raise funds. So that is what. So a basic question then you'll ask, what is a share market? So as you saw, you have set up a company called Face Mask Private Limited. Now you want more funds. So what you will go is, you will go to the stock exchange, say, I want to give ownership of my companies to unknown people. Those unknown people are known as public. So you want to go public in that sense. And these are the public investors like you, me, unknown to the company, who are sitting in various cities, tier 2, tier 3 cities, who will buy the shares of this company and invest in your stock. So whenever you are doing any innovation idea, any idea that you are working upon, you have to think about how are you going to produce your product. So how will you cater to the demand? How will you sustain the demand? The second is, where will the money come from? So if you have not answered this part of the question in your innovation ideas, then it might be just be answering one part of the circle. So if there are two parts to the circle, the first one is answering what will you manufacture, how will you manufacture, where will you get it from, will you be able to supply it on time. Second part is, after a certain point in time, where will the money come from? Are we just going to contribute from our pocket? Are we going to go to the bank, or are we going to the share market, sell our shares to investors at a premium, charge them some amount? This is a good company, we are doing good, give us this much amount per share, So I will sell the shares of one share of my company at say 100 rupees, 200 rupees, and raise funds from there. So this is an important topic which you will be learning in the days to come. But without money, no innovation idea can be commercialized. Okay, and a very basic. So once you list, just trying to sort of connect. And for those who do not understand, you always have a chance to come and ask. So I will ask Varya to facilitate this if anyone is interested in asking at least this question, that what happens on stock exchanges? What do stock exchanges do? They offer you a platform so that you can buy and sell what? Buy and sell the shares that you have listed. And here also the question is how the prices are decided. It is again the supply of demand and function. Now, if you remember in the very beginning, I said anything that is trading in the market, anything, whether it is commodity, whether it is stocks, shares, oil, gold, it is a function of demand and supply. And what I have done is I have got a screenshot of a company, Hero Motor Corp. So you know Hero company, right? Earlier it was known as Hero Honda. It manufactures motorcycles. Earlier it was manufacturing, I think still does Hero bicycles also, right? So they have their own motorcycles and it is a market leader. It does good amount of motorcycles. So when the shares are listed, if you see this green red bar, this is nothing but a volume. So if more and more people are asking, if there is a demand, see there is a high demand and see what happens. The stock prices start moving up. It is the same phenomena as if more people are asking more bananas, the prices will move up. If more people are asking masks, the prices will move up, right? So you see this one that there is huge volume here. This is a volume candle and see what has happened to the prices. The prices are moving up. Likewise, if there is more supply of the shares of your company's share, if people start selling your shares, see what happens to the stock price. So this is a concept that I just wanted to introduce and leave it here. This is not appropriate to talk in depth about it. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it is the supply and demand that will decide your price. So the question is that as a part of, now come back to the first slide. Let's focus on this one. So the idea is, the question is, why did we do the presentation? We answered a couple of questions. That if you're doing an innovation or a marathon exercise for around innovation, around ideas, you have to look at the demand and supply situations. Where will the product come from? Where will you get your raw material from? Who will fund it, right? And how will you utilize that? If you have a nice idea, how will you commercialize? How will you make money out of it, right? If it is a social idea, how will people make money out of it? The program that I do at IIT Bombay as a business mentor, that is social entrepreneurship. So we see that people at large benefit out of it. Without looking at these, the demand and supply, which is a crux of all your ideas. So you'll have to figure demand and supply, who will buy, who will supply, and hence what is the price of the product that you are going to sell. If you sell a mask at say 1,000 rupees, how many people will actually buy? Not many. So this is where I stop. I will rest my case. If there are any questions, we can take it up, and I will hand over then this to Varya so she can then guide us through the next process.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for the really insightful presentation. I see there are one or two questions that we can take up. So there's one on when we bring up a new company for the share market, what will decide the value of the share for the first time?
Okay. I really appreciate that question because that's a really nice question. And I would have never imagined that this kind of question would come up on a session. But I'm really happy. Let me tell you, I'm really happy that, and that is why it is essential that we introduce something which is new to our students, and that will shape them, and they will sort of become masters in their field, in their area, in their domain, but they will also learn how to address the most important part of the question is where will the money come from? So the question is, first time when they are listing the uh, getting it on the stock exchange. So from a private limited company, when couple of people, you saw 5 people, 4 or 5 people here, you saw 5 people started the company, so it is known as private limited because it's a private company of 5 people. There are 5 directors in it. From here, you decided to sell your shares to public that you don't know. They are not your friends and family members. So it becomes a publicly listed or a public company. So let's call it a public company or a listed company. Now a very interesting question is, where will the prices be decided upon? Okay, then you will hire guys, mentors like us. Maybe if it's a startup idea, free of cost. If it's already doing business worth 50-100 crores, you will hire someone known as merchant bankers. Okay, they are not your retail bankers where you deposit cash, etc. They are merchant bankers. So they will look at your business. Okay, what is the business all about? So let me take you to this slide. And the business is all about selling masks. So as you see, more and more people are buying masks. So the company, whichever is trying to decide the value for the first time when it is listed on the stock exchange. So they will look at what is the business you will do in 2022, which is about to, which obviously this year. So business for 22, they will look at what is the business for 2023, 2024, 2025, 6 and 7. So a plan will be built for 5 years. How many masks will you sell? Right? How many masks will you sell in these 5 years? Basis that they will arrive at the price of the shares. The process is known as valuation. Okay. And very specifically, this is called financial modeling. What does financial modeling consist of? So financial modeling, what they will do is, and a very basic concept I'm introducing because there are some mentors also here, they will look at your earnings statement, which is also known as profit and loss statement. So they will come up with some documents. They will look at your future plan. How many masks do you intend to sell in 2022 and going forward until 2027? Basis that how much your company will earn in these 5 years, basis the earnings for the 5 years going forward in future, because history is already gone. You have already sold these many masks. So going forward for the 5 years, how much money you will make, basis the money that you make in each of these years for the next 5 years, they will arrive at the value of a company. Okay. And if the company is good, say they arrive at a valuation. This is again hypothetical. For example, you have seen Burger King. So I'm sure not a lot of you people know that Burger King, you've been to the outlet. So Burger King was listed, right? And you also know that parts of the franchises of McDonald's are also listed. Domino's is also listed. These examples I'm giving because these are your daily life examples. Maruti is also listed. Hero is also listed. So suppose you decide that the value of your share is, with the help of the bankers, is for example $100. When you list for first time on your stock exchange, it is possible that with the opening the prices moved up to 150 rupees. The stocks that you have sold, you have earned, for every stock you have earned $100, which you will be using for expanding your company. This you cannot use for your personal expenses and your household expenses. The money that you raise from the investors, from public investors, that you have to use for expansion of the company. So you have to tell the stock exchanges and SEBI, which regulates these people. So now it's a very regulated world. Is not like 1992. It is a very, very strictly controlled market. There are a lot of regulators, and specifically Securities Exchange Board of India. So they will look into your documents. They will tell you, okay, 100 is an okay price because from 2022 to 2027, this particular mask limited has said, okay, they will do these many masks, and hence they will earn that much. So what is the profit you are making, total profit in these 5 years? So the stock exchange regulator, which is SEBI, the government will look at all these documents and they will say, okay, this is what you're making. So 100 price is okay. And it is possible when you list it for the first day, the prices shoots up and starts trading at 150. After that, it is a function of demand and supply, how many people buy it and how many people sell it. So I hope I've answered your question in depth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other final question I just see is of an example that if there is any example that you could give about. Oh wait, there's one more question actually. What's your call on crowdfunding from inner circle of innovators in social entrepreneurship segment?
That also is that also is coming up in India, which is a good thing. And the good part about crowdfunding is that those who are funding it, the crowdfunding, they don't become the owners of the company. So that's absolutely nice. That's a good concept. But it has to be something which has a mass scale because it has to impact those many people. The idea is if the crowd is funding, the crowd has to like it, right? Here in this case, as you see, there are a couple of, handful of investors. Maybe the handful could be a number. It could be 1,000 people, 10,000 people, lakh people. So it's a lack of people who, look into your company, analyze your company before you list and before they buy your shares. A crowdfunding is a different process. One, it is not government control. There is no government intervention in it. It is not listed, so your stocks will not be moving up and down like this, and there is no demand and supply factor. But yes, crowdfunding is coming up in India. It's a good thought. It's a good process. And if your idea is liked by the crowdfunders, nothing like it. So it's also one of the beautiful ideas. And if you are about social entrepreneurship from a social angle, absolutely beautiful idea. Go ahead with it. And that also must be explored by our Indian students and the Indian fraternity. That must not be ignored. That is really coming up well in the Western world. Yes, Varya.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just seeing if there's any other question very quickly.
Yes.
I think the final question is just of that examples that can you please give a simple example for the below marathon pillar problem statement, which is how do you implement a solution to mitigate the price fluctuation and manage demand and supply? I think what the person is basically referring to is that can you give a specific case study or an example of managing demand and supply? I think the mask example answers a part of that question because that was a problem statement that how do you provide masks, which is now a necessity to so many people. So that is one example that you look at the different components that are there in the supply chain and you see which one you can fix to make access of masks easier.
Yes.
And I think the same can be then applicable to anything that you're trying to fix because price is a result of demand and supply. So if you think demand is low, then you fix on the demand and maybe you figure out why people are not buying. And if it's a supply end problem, then you fix that. Technology is one of the greatest, external sources which helps fix demand and supply to manage price fluctuations because it adds a new component altogether.
Yes. And two parts to it. If it is something like COVID-19 situation, which was not sort of foreseen, so you can't really do that. And there was an immediate lockdown, which was not seen. So this is something unusual situation, which you cannot manage. But there are other parts of the planning. So as I said, the very example, just connecting the dots. I saw when you're listing your company, the investors want to see, even the stock exchange, the government wants to see that how much you're selling between 2022 and 2022 and 2027. So forecasting is one part of your problem. So you will do planning, which is all about forecasting your demand in normal situation with certain jump. The jump could be 10%, 20%, but nothing like COVID situation. And also doing a good warehousing planning. So you will tie up with warehouses. Now, since I come from the automotive industry and we advise a lot of clients outside India, Indian clients outside India, clients sitting outside for coming in India. So we are seeing a trend that a lot of these Indian, parts manufacturers, car parts manufacturer, they are tying up with warehouses in US. It's not their warehouses, though, so it's not. They don't have to build the factory, but there are warehousing partners, who already have leased out. So you will talk to them, say, hello, I need your warehouses this much space. I want to keep my inventory there in US because one of my clients in the US, in America, in England might need my parts all of a sudden. So warehousing planning is another part of it. And we are building layers onto it. So there are warehousing partners. So a good supply chain planning, forecasting, warehousing planning, and also having a very good supply chain partner, something like DHL, TNT, or Indian logistics companies also, which help you in sort of deciding what are the challenges you can face. And the last part of it is cyclical nature of the business. Now, you know that, for example, coolers, ACs, their demand goes up in during summer season, right? So you have to understand whether your product is cyclical in nature, right? If there is a seasonal factor to it. For example, ice cream demand goes up in summer, whereas it goes down in winter season. Especially in the north, you'll not be able to have ice cream. In Maharashtra and maybe down southward, people still have it because it's not that chilly here. But you have to understand the cyclicity or your cyclical nature of your business. Is there any cyclical nature to it? So that will help you in fixing the volatility on the demand side and also on the supply chain issue. If demand is volatile, your supply issues will crop up very frequently. You will get stuck. Yes,
I think that answers all the questions we have today. We're also at time for today's session. So with that, sir, I'd just like to thank you for taking up this Knowledge Hub session on Atmanirbhar Bharat and helping us understand economics in the stock market better. In addition to that, I would like to once again remind all mentors and students present here, please do submit your applications for the ATL Marathon. Swati has shared the link in the detail. You can also just go onto the AIM website and apply. Applications are open for about 2 weeks more, so we look forward to seeing more and more submissions from your end. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again in our next Knowledge Hub session soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Varya. Thank you, Swati ma'am. Thank you all. Thanks to all the mentors. Thank you, Prashant ji, for organizing this one. Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay. Thank you.